Hello, my name is Dr. Yaya Sissoko, Professor of Economics, Department of Finance and Economics at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 12, Unemployment. This video is about efficiency wages revisited. So what is efficiency wages and how efficiency wages is going to lead to unemployment? So efficiency wage rise because it's difficult to monitor and worker output. So therefore, so the high efficiency wage by the worker corporation discouraging shrinking because the firm pay above market wages. However, efficiency model can generate involuntary unemployment. So therefore the above market efficiency wage known as the stick generate involuntary unemployment known as the non-shrinking frontier. Figure 1 display the determination of the efficiency wage. So we have on the graph on the y-axis or vertical axis we have the wage rate or in dollar. On the x-axis horizontal axis we have the employment. So the supply curve is represented by S, and then which is vertical, perfectly inelastic supply curve, and the demand curve is downward sloping, negatively slope, meaning that at lower wages, businesses wanna hire more worker to increase the profit. So if shrinking is not a problem, the market clear at wage W star, where supply equal to demand. The supply curve as which is vertical, demand curve downward sloping will cross at point P, and the equilibrium wage will be W star. In this situation, shrinking is not a problem. However, if monitoring is expensive, the threat of unemployment can keep worker in line. For instance, if unemployment is high at point like F, so then firm can attract worker who will not shrink at very low wage. So you can see unemployment at point F. So at point F, so then firm this firm will be hiring this much, and at F, and then the difference between F and E would be unemployment in that case, and then the wage that firm will pay will be low wage as compared to W star. On the other end, if unemployment is low at point like G, so firm must pay a very high wage to ensure that workers do not shrink. So at this point at G, unemployment, so the number of people who will be employed will be this much, and the difference between these two is unemployment. So the difference between the two is unemployment. The efficient wage, so W and S is given by the intersection of the non-shrinking supply curve NS and the demand curve. The non-shrinking supply curve, which is this one, the upward sloping, supply curve, the blue line here, and the demand curve cross right here at point Q, and then the number of people will be employed, the efficient, non-shrinking employment will be N, E, and S, and then the equilibrium wage will be W and S. So we can see that, so that the non-shrinking frontier NS will never touch the perfectly inelastic supply curve at point at E worker. So the difference, you can see that the perfectly elastic supply curve is vertical right there, and then the non-shrinking supply curve will never touch the vertical supply curve. The difference between these two would be unemployment. The difference between two would be the number of people who will be unemployed. So if the market employ all the workers at a particular wage, a shrinking worker who get fired can simply walk across the street and get another job. In other words, there is no penalty for shrinking. The key insight provided by the efficient wage model is clear. Some unemployment is necessary to keep the employees worker in line. Figure 2 illustrated the impact of an economic contraction on the efficient wage. So before the contraction, so the labor market, so is in equilibrium, without the efficient wage at S, where supply curve, the vertical supply curve, perfectly inelastic, cross the demand curve at this point. So E worker will be employed in the economy, and then the equilibrium wage in that case will be WO star with the efficiency the efficiency wage model. So the supply curve is non-shrinking supply curve, which is positively sloped, the blue line here, crossing the demand curve D0 at this point. So the number of workers with the efficient wage model would be E, O, and S, and then the wage rate would be in that case W, O, and S. So the difference between these two, E, O, and S, and E, would be unemployment. So let's assume that there is a contraction in the economy. A fall in output demand shifted the labor demand curve from D0 to D1. Demand curve will decrease, will shift from D0 to D1, so negative shift. And then so the competitive wage now will fall from WO star to W star. We can see the competitive wage will fall from WO, so from WO star to W. Okay, so then if firm pay an efficient wage, the contraction in demand also reduces the efficient wage by a smaller amount. So the contraction here will reduce the efficient wage from this point to now to this point right here, where E1 and S will be employed in the economy, and then the wage, so it would be W1 and S in that case. So which is going down by a smaller amount. So the equilibrium efficiency wage is given by the intersection of the non-shrinking frontier and the labor demand curve at point Q. So the wage W and S is the efficiency wage, and firm will apply an E and S worker, and so that E minus E and S worker will be unemployed. So the equilibrium at point Q has a number of notable properties. The first one is that there are no market forces driving the efficient wage W and S. The non-shrinking frontier tell us that there will be many more non-shrinking workers. So, but if the wage drop below the efficient wage, firm will want to hire many more non-shrinking workers than will be available, and the wage will rise. Therefore, the efficiency wage W and S is above the market clearing competitive wage. So some empirical studies document a negative correlation between wages and unemployment across regions. So specifically, the wage tend to be high in the region where the unemployment rate is low, and the wage tend to be low in the region when the unemployment rate is high. So therefore, this correlation, which is known as the wage curve, is difficult to understand in the context of a competitive supply-demand framework, but it is consistent with an efficiency wage model. So the equilibrium, which happens at point Q, has a number of notable properties. First of all, employed worker will not shrink. The efficiency wage WNS is the wage that encourages the ENS employed worker to behave. Second, there is involuntary unemployment, so the E minus ENS unemployed worker want to work at the going wages but cannot find jobs. So therefore, firms do not wish to employ these workers because full employment, and the employ lower competition wages. This will encourage workers to shrink, will reduce the firm profit. This is the end of the video about efficiency wages revisited. Next time we'll talk about the intertemporal substitution hypothesis versus the sectoral shift hypothesis. Thank you.